Good evening, everyone. It is October 22nd, 2019, and, well, let's just put it this way, folks. The Sharks didn't do a great thing tonight. They lose 4-3 after having a two-goal lead. Welcome to Teal Town After Dark. This is your live and interactive Sharks postgame. If you want to be part of the show, you know how to join us. Join us in the YouTube chat on the page or the app. And, of course, follow us on all over the social media landscape: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit. You name it, you love it, you got us right there. All right. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. Hi, Eric. I felt like this one kind of just left a bad taste in my mouth. It was kind of a little bit of a letdown.
A little. You blow a 2-0 lead in a place where freaking have the toughest time in the world. I think Buffalo is 18-2-1 since moving to the place formerly known as Marine Midland Arena. And the Sharks have only won 3 times in Buffalo. So it's a tough one, but these Sabres, they are good. They are really good.
Yeah, they're the real deal.
And they don't have James Neal on it.
Yeah, I was going to go with
that. So let's start this game. Let's talk about this. First big road trip of the season for the Sharks. They head out on the East Coast. They got Buffalo, they got Montreal and Toronto. They start with Buffalo, which has always given them tough times, but they really got off to a really sloppy start those first few shifts.
Yeah, the opening shifts, I thought were kind of a harbinger of things to come. Luckily, I was a little bit wrong there, but it's the same old defensive woes continuing to rear their ugly heads. You would think that they would learn from the previous mistakes about checking guys that come into the defensive zone, standing up at the blue line, instead of just letting them walk right down Main Street, so to speak. Again, it's just mental lapses leading to big defensive breakdowns. All right. Let me go and see what's going on here.
Yeah, you fix that, and I'll talk about your 546 Dylan Gambrel with his first regular season goal on a tip from an Erik Karlsson shot and Marcus Sorensen. So we get on the board right away.
Now it's saying that you're muted.
I unmuted myself. That they'll get it back. So. But 546 in, Dylan Gambrel with a nice tip. Something that the Sharks always miss from somebody that decided to bail on to Dallas. So, what did you think from Gambrel?
You know what? This has been a long time coming. Gambrel, to me, has been very much continue to get better. To me, this was, again, just a goal that you want to see from him. This is kind of, it's funny, but he's kind of become the heir apparent to Joe Pavelski insofar as being the tipper and being the college guy. And, I think it's a lot to thrust on him. I think, though, that it's nice to see him get rewarded in front of the net and just, dropping him down to that fourth line and letting him feast on some inferior competition. It's good to see from him.
Definitely, and nice to see secondary scoring from the second six, for sure. And Gambrel has been working on it a lot lately. 5 minutes later, 10:46. Ferraro takes a tripping call. First of two tripping calls on the evening for him. That sets up a Sabres power play. That doesn't occur for anything. Nothing happens there. And then 15:23, Marc-Edouard Vlasic makes it 2-0 on a nice passing play with Timo Meier and Patrick Marleau. Patty with his fourth point with the team now, but Vlasic pinching at the right time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought Marleau did a great job with the pass back to Vlasic, and Vlasic just nets a beauty.
Yeah, and he bears it past Hutton, who was on a crazy shutout streak entering tonight to make it 2-0. So shots 14-10 in favor of Buffalo after one period of play. The face-off slight edge to Buffalo, 57-43 in that one. I thought the Sharks played a really good road period there. Had a rough start, but I thought they picked it up nicely.
Yeah, I also felt like the rough start didn't affect them. They kind of waded through that kind of horrible play in their own zone through the first, 5 to 7 minutes, and then really picked up the pace. I thought that they took the play to the Buffalo Sabres. I thought that even at the end of the period there was still a flurry of activity, and it's exactly what you want to see. It's the hard forecheck. It's the good neutral zone passing. It's those quick one-up passes, and you're off to the races. You saw lots of sustained pressure in the second half of the first period, and it bears out in the stats.
Yep, and they looked like they were taking care of things early on, and then in the second period, a little bit of collision between Timo Meier and Jack Eichel. Looks like Jack Eichel hit a rut in the ice in the neutral zone. He falls down. That looked a little more scarier than we thought. Both players kind of were a little wobbly as they went to the respective benches. Both would be okay, but Meier, I thought, oh boy, that could be a big issue there for Timo.
Yeah, that was a collective sigh of relief once we saw Timo get back onto the ice. It seemed like maybe he missed a shift, but you know what? Again, good to see him back on the ice. Didn't seem to have any ill effects going through the rest of the game tonight.
Yep, and looking at that, and it seemed like that kind of was like a spark plug for Jack Eichel as things get going at 6:10. Barclay Goodrow takes a tripping call. That sets up a Sabres power play against a great Sharks penalty kill, which is the best in the NHL. However, Jack Eichel buries one, his fifth of the season on the power play from Rasmus Dahlin and Olofsson at 7:21 to cut the lead in half for the Sharks.
Yeah, and that was kind of a crappy goal to give up. You saw Jones in good position, and you thought he was going to have that, but it just squeaked through. And again, it's inconsistencies in his game that will it's whether or not he can get rid of the inconsistencies in his game, and that's going to dictate how far the Sharks are going to go. I mean, they're going to only go as so far as their number one is going to take them. And if you're giving up squeakers, you're giving up one or two bad goals a game, it's going to cost you points in the standing. Yep. And really, I mean, if the Sharks would have held on, and instead of giving up that goal and maybe only giving up one goal during that period, we'd be talking about a Sharks win and, them being able to get back to 500. Now we're talking about, the eventual overtime loss, and it starts with those, tweener kind of goals. You've got to have those.
Yep, you definitely have to have them, and you definitely need to keep pushing. And I think they let the foot off the gas in the second period, where Buffalo has been really dominant. I think they were coming into tonight like a +9 goal differential in the middle frame. 10:43, Ferraro would take a questionable tripping call. DeBoer was pissed about this. What did you think of it?
Oh, I was pissed as well. To me, this was a perfect perfectly executed hip check at the blue line. This is exactly what you want Ferraro doing. I think if anything, when Ferraro skates back to the bench there, PDB is going to give him a pat on the back and be like, hey, look, that's exactly what you need to be doing. Good hit. And we just got on the wrong end of a call there. And, you'll go through it and you'll look at it and you'll look at it again. It's square to the hip of the attacking player. It's right as the player has the puck. So you can't, question whether or not it's going to be an interference penalty because of, where the puck is in play. So really the only thing that you can call there is tripping. And to me, you're executing a great body check. You're putting a attacking player out of position. That's textbook 101 standing up at your blue line. I don't know what else you do there. I think 9 times out of 10, that's gonna be legal. I think the Sharks just kind of got jobbed on this one, unfortunately. And I hate to bring out the tinfoil hat conspiracy, but they kind of got jobbed on it.
Yeah, and thankfully Buffalo didn't do anything on the power play in that one. But it seems like tripping has been the penalty du jour of night, and it seems like that's kind of been like that for a number of games this season. Buffalo takes a penalty at 14:02. Yokoharu gets called for tripping, and that doesn't result in anything for the Sharks power play, which has been on a great run lately. Unfortunately, the late goals bite the Sharks in the end. At 19:29, Sam Reinhart, with his 4th of the season from Luostalainen and Jack Eichel, ties it up late in the second, and one of those backbreaker goals that you want them to have.
Yeah, I mean, that one that one really sucks because of the timing. And to me, this is really where you see the start of the sag, because they're going to sag going into the next period. So, good on Buffalo for the sustained pressure. Good on them for getting on the Sharks in the last minute of that period. But again, it starts with another miscue in the defensive zone. It's EK65 not clearing a puck and not clearing a man out in front of the crease. And that said man eventually scores. And, he's been a wonder on offense. He's been putting up points and driving play, but he's suspect in his own zone right now. You can't continually ask Brendan Dillon to bail him out time and time again. Brendan Dillon has been doing a magnificent job covering up the EK65 holes. But at some point, you're going to have your highest paid defenseman make some defensive plays. And to me, this goes to show you that, again, the Sharks are just a mess in their own zone right now.
Yeah, but they have, I thought, within the last 5 games, they have been a lot better in their zone, but here and there, they've been having their hiccups.
Yeah, I think that they're starting to figure it out, but it's those brain farts that are just, not even what would I characterize them as? Yes, they're egregious. However, most of the time you can get away with them, but at this point in time, it seems to be magnified every time that they do make a mistake because it's ending up in the back of the net. So it's a work in progress. The Bob Bugner defensive scheme or whatever is going to take some time to readjust to. But still, I mean, these are very, very easily mistakes to correct, and they're still continuing to be made. I don't understand it, and I don't understand what the problem is, getting the defenseman to clear the zone out, and for the defenseman to make clean passes out of the zone. So these are going to bury the Sharks, and they're only going to go so far as their defensive structure is going to take them.
And also, you can't just blame one on the defense. You also have to give credit to the forwards who need to maybe not just go for the quick breakout into their zone. Maybe they got to pick up the defensive miscues. I mean, they don't need to make a 5-person wall behind in front of Jones, but at the same time, maybe help out and support in getting those pucks out to and keep the puck possession going, which is supposed to be one of their things that they're supposed to be very good at. So shots in the second period, 10-5 in favor of Buffalo. Again, like we said, the Buffalo's second period is one of their best ones for sure. In the third period, the things didn't get any better. 45 seconds in, Jeff Skinner, the guy who stole Logan Couture's Calder Trophy, he gets his 6th of the season from Jack Eichel and Yokiharu on this one to give the Sabres a 3-2 lead and completely erasing what the Sharks had built up in the first.
Yeah, and again, this was another goal that I really didn't like. I felt like Jones should have had this one, and again, it's just a defensive breakdown when you have goaltending that is shaky. We'll say that. You're going to be wondering if these mistakes are going to end up in the back of your net. And, it did. And Buffalo drew off of that and continued to take it to the Sharks. Really, the Sharks kind of got back their mojo probably midway through that third period.
Yep. And it didn't help any that Eichel takes an interference call on LeBanc at 6:22. Nothing seemed to come of it. I thought they built some good chances, but it was almost like one and done on that power play. Then Barclay Goodrow, he takes a late hit from former Vegas Golden Knight Colin Miller. Gee, I wonder where he learned that idea from. Gets Goodrow upset. He takes a boarding call once the puck goes into the corner. That sets up a Buffalo power play. And before then, a subsequent, brouhaha in the corner, which only got Goodrow in that sense. But then once... Go ahead.
And let's quickly break that one down, because I do not understand how they only give one penalty there. And I would at least think that the third man in who's laying the lumber on Barkley would get some kind of third man in kind of penalty or a rough or whatever to cancel out the Barkley hit. The Barkley hit, you can see he takes the extra stride, and that's what's going to kill you, is when you take that 1 or 2 extra stride going into the player. They're going to call that a board or a charge, whatever they want to call the soup du jour of the day. And so, it's a retaliatory penalty in the fact that Barkley kind of took a number and wanted to ream the guy that got him. But again, I don't understand the refs there and trying to really even out the calls, and especially that late in the third. Most of the time the refs are going to hold their whistles in the third period, which is the way that I'd like to see it. And I think consistency is the name of the game here. And just kind of as the Sharks have gone, it's been very inconsistent game to game. We really don't know what the standard is, and it takes that 20-30 game mark before the referees really settle into the groove of the season and what they're going to be calling. But game 30, I think that those penalties would even out, and you would get a 4-on-4 situation there. Instead, the Sharks are kind of on the wrong end of that one, and got to kill that off.
Yep, and they do kill it off, and it seemed like they gained momentum from it. And then at 11:27, nice pass over to Erik Karlsson. He gets his first of the season on a nice shot, beating Carter Hutton from LeBanc and Marleau. Marleau with 2 assists on the night. It makes this game tied up 3-3. What did you think of our namesake getting the tying goal? Something to be happy about, right?
Yeah, and you're again, it's the Erik Karlsson giveth, Erik Karlsson taketh away, and at this point, he's the giving kind of Erik in that moment, and he gets the goal, and you know what? He caught Carter Hutton coming across his crease. He's going from post to post there, and he's able to slide it in underneath the pads, and he's got a goal. And that's what you got to do when you've got a goaltender like Hutton, who's kind of been on a roll. You have to get him moving. I mean, that's every goalie's weakness, is moving side to side. Well, maybe except for Marc-Andre Fleury, who has some superhuman Gumby legs. But at most goaltenders, you'll get some good opportunities, and you'll get some good you'll get some good goals from moving them side to side. So Erik Karlsson not dusting it off, just taking a quick shot, and he's rewarded for it. So good on him. Ends up, I think, making up for his defensive breakdowns tonight. But at the end of the day, do you want to see him, give up a goal and score a goal? Or do you want to see him maybe better in his own defensive zone and, contributing with, good breakouts? I don't really know at this point, because I feel like we already have that player in Brent Burns, right? He is very much the, one-dimensional kind of player and not very good in his own zone. And can you afford to have 2 of the players on your back end?
Well, we're expecting to have an offensive minded defenseman with Burns and Karlsson. You can do that, but you also have to make sure you're also defensively, responsible for everything. You can't be, one-sided. Otherwise, you're going to get in a heap of trouble, especially as a defenseman. So, game would be even 3-3 after regulation. Then we go into overtime, where I don't think the Sharks really got much going. Maybe a bad change leads to a 2-on-1. Down low, Ristolainen with Eichel. There was a shot, it was a save. Eichel dives and buries it in before the net comes off from Joe Thornton. Buffalo wins this one 4-3 in overtime. Ristolainen and Casey Middlestat on the assists on the game-winning goal there. Close to, but close to goaltender interference, would you see? So,
I mean, it was worth a shot. I didn't see how it was going to really equate to anything, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I saw it as, I saw it as a trickle in, right? I think I saw it as Jones really not, not holding that puck there, not able to get at it, and it trickles in, and you're gonna get those kind of goals. That's right. A greasy goal, but I think what everybody's yelling in the chat is that Kevin LeBanc cannot be out there on the 3-on-3 for so long.
Yep.
And just preceding that, whiffs on a 2-on-1. I mean, that should have been a bang play. And at least got a shot on goal prior to that.
Right.
And so, you just gotta wonder, what's he thinking there? Is he trying to, get off on a chains? Is he trying to, maybe open up a little wide just in case EK65, needs an option outlet? I don't know, but boy, that was the wrong play to make there, and it directly cost them a point.
And Couture called it out at the end. saying, quote, "It's an excusable change. Two guys stayed out for long looking for offense. It's a selfish play." Um, you know, it's one of those ones that you know, that's the point, you know. So they lose 4-3. Yeah, as AJ's mentioning, if the Kings' 1-goal lead over the Jets holds up, the Sharks will wake up tomorrow morning last in the Pacific. For a team that has Stanley Cup aspirations, 3-4-1 isn't exactly where you want to be. Rob Humphrey adding on to that, this assuming this team ever wakes up. That's the whole issue here, is that this team needs to wake up. They need to be a little more clearer, or I don't know if it means more coffee, more practicing with each other, for that matter. Molerat 33, not to mention him shooting it at Jones in OT. LOL, come on now. So, it's these early quirks that, we're almost a month into the season now, and what's going on? I mean, we had a nice 3-game winning streak. We thought, they played a good game against Buffalo on Saturday night at the Tank. Just these little headaches keep going out. To which AJ saying the Sharks clearly need one more 40-year-old. So, Landi, sorry, I'm gonna have to come out of retirement and help out. Just plant me in front of the net. I'll just try to block everything for defensive positioning. Just bubble wrap me at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, this just continues to add to the inconsistency of the Sharks this season. It's felt like they've had to adapt to a different style defensively. I feel like they've had to adapt to integrating new players offensively. I feel that the forward situation is kind of solidified. You're seeing now, 3 solid lines. It's good to see Patrick Marleau get back onto the score sheet tonight. He looks a little slow out there. His timing isn't great yet, but it's getting better. It's definitely a work in progress. Still, that right wing slot on Kane and Hurdle's right wing is still vacant. I think Noah Gregor has jumped into a situation and done the best that he has.
Right.
But you need to get some production out of that out of that slot.
Well,
and go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, so I just I just feel like it's still a maturation process, yes, but you also can't take forever to let a kid mature. So, in my mind, it's like, okay, yeah, we're letting the kids have it, but at some point they've got to get another difference maker at right wing. And I need to see more out of the Hurdle line. They've been very inconsistent. To me, the best line tonight was the fourth line. I thought Gambrel, every time he touched the puck, every time his line was out, was the hardest working line. They were the most efficient at breaking it out, and really seemed to give all the rest of the lines a kind of a boost of energy. I like Joe Thornton and Sorensen together. They seem to reignite their chemistry right away, and it's good to see Pickles on the scoreboard, but defensively in their own zone, that's just a mess, a hot mess right now. You got to sort that out. And the forward core, there's still some question marks for me. So inconsistent play across the board is going to lead to inconsistent results, and there we have it, sitting at 3-5-1.
3-4-1. Don't. Oh, or sorry, 3-5-1. Excuse me, 3-5-1. You're right. You're right. But Noah Gregor at 9:22. I think we saw Melker Karlsson getting double shifted a couple of times tonight on the second line with Hurdle and Kane, trying to see if anything can go with it. Annie Man in the comments, I have to wonder if Couture's comments post-game translate to more than just tonight. In the wins, we skate as a team and look good. In the losses, it seems like we are disconnected and look rough. I think that's a good take in my mind. I think hit it spot on with that for sure. Rocket, I agree with you. I think it's still a curse. There's something in the water in Buffalo that we cannot just have it, or maybe we just, the guys have just too many buffalo wings, and it affects their esophagus. I don't know. I mean, that's probably the first time we ever said esophagus on this program, but
I mean, there is also I have a pet theory, and that being that it is pretty close to the Toronto metropolitan area, and you do have a contingent of players that have family in the Toronto area. It could be the I guess trying to play in front of your family, and that kind of being on the mind. Again, that's kind of a pet theory that I have. But it's just, who knows? It's just one of those weird kind of stats. It's also weird their travel schedule getting into Buffalo. So, that kind of accounts for why they didn't really start on time. Again, though, Eric, I mean, to me, the biggest problem and the most glaring problem that they have to figure out is their defensive zone coverage. I think it starts with that.
And getting breakouts going the other way, I think is huge, and keep that puck possession as they get into the neutral zone and into the attacking zone. I think that's going to be huge for them down the road to remedy. I think it starts with the defensive zone, but you also have to get it into your other zone in order to make it happen. Rob Humphrey saying, new rule, no more family at games. I'm not sure that's going to work out too well with the family for sure. Annie Man saying the Sharks' average age of the roster today is 28.1 years old, which isn't horrible. And of course, AJ with the silver lining, the last time the Sharks played in Montreal, they had a team meeting and won 7 of their next 8. Just saying, #deja vu. Steve Cropper, contradicting Rob, saying BITD, bring in the dads. So definitely have that going on there. Final stats on the night: 29-28 shots in favor of Buffalo tonight. 55-45 in favor of Buffalo in the faceoff circle. Sharks go 0 for 2. The Sabres get 1 on the power play. They go 1 for 4. Ends a great run by the Sharks on the penalty kill. They still are looking really solid on that far to the special teams. Hits 21-12 in favor of Buffalo. Blocks 11-6 in favor of Buffalo. The Sharks lead 6-5 in the giveaways. Time on ice tonight, like we mentioned earlier, Noah Gregor 9:22. You also had Marcus Sorensen at 10:28. He also jumped on the third line a couple of times. Dylan Gambrel, congratulations, you got your first goal. You're only playing 9:54 tonight. Was a tough 33% in the faceoff circle. Evander Kane a -2. Patrick Marleau with 2 assists on the night as well. So he gets on their EK 65. A goal and an assist and a +1. Go figure. Brendan Dillon +2. And Tim Heed. Obviously, the Sharks are waiting for either Dalton Prout or Radim Shimmick to get back into things. Apparently, they're on the road trip. But Tim Heed plays only 8:52 tonight. And I think his confidence has to be shattered right now.
Yeah. How do you continually trot out Tim Heed for 8:52? I don't understand it. I mean, yes, it is the beginning of the season, so the defensemen have a lot more in the tank, but still, you have to have consistency rotating the defensive pairs. And I think that that's part of the reason why we're having some deficiencies in the defensive zone. Mind you, Tim Heed hasn't done much to really warrant more time on ice. From everything that I've seen when he's on the ice, he seems very hesitant trying to move it through the zone. And he's very hesitant to unleash the Heed howitzer, which I mean is awesome. So, it's kind of a chicken or the egg kind of thing with his confidence there. Is it because he's not getting enough time that, he's not very confident, or is it that he needs more time to get more confidence? Who knows? But the other thing is I don't really think this is sustainable. You can't just continually do that to your defense core there.
No, and it's gonna be rough at the end. But when Dalton Prout is essentially better than Tim Heed according to the coaching staff, I mean that's pretty scary to consider for sure. Emanis, I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Hello from Monterey. Not only do the Sharks never seem to win in Buffalo, they never win on my birthday. I turned 45 today. They always ruin my birthday. We're sorry they ruined your birthday. We hope you had a nice birthday. Have some nice cake. I don't know, maybe some Sharks goodies as gifts or on that for sure. So, Andy Man, tapping that tank this heavy is already almost a guarantee to wear them out before April 1st. Ferraro checking in at 10:33 isn't very stellar. Yep, and to have Burns at 26:06, EK65 27:32, Mark Edward Vlasic 24:09, Brendan Dillon 21:46. I mean I know the Blackhawks won with like 3-4 defensemen in 2015 over the Tampa Bay Lightning to win the cup, but you can't do that in late October.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that I just feel like the team has been a little mismanaged. I think that there needs to be a little bit more accountability to the stars on the defense core. But I also think that there needs to be some better ice time utilization. Yep. I think Mario Ferraro has shown that he's an NHLer. He's ready. I think he's ready for an increased role. I wouldn't mind seeing him out there for 12 to 15 minutes in that range. Yeah. And maybe it's the fact that he's attached to Heed, so he's not getting as much time. But I tell you what, I don't want to see Dalton Prout go in for Heed just to be a boat anchor to Mario Ferraro. I mean, that you want to nerf a kid's confidence, you put Dalton Prout with him, and he's just a pylon. I mean, it's Roman Polak 2.0.
Well, I think it's just a waiting game until Shimmick gets back, and I guess he had a little bit, or as AJ would say, a skosh of a setback. But the good news is that he's on this road trip. I mean, it would be interesting to see what happens here. It would be also, if they're ready to go, it'd be nice to maybe, if things don't go well in Montreal, to get into Toronto on Saturday night. So, remains to be seen in that one. So, Sharks lose 4-3. Martin Jones, 25 of 29 for an .862 save percentage. Definitely had some stellar saves. I remember the one that, what was it? I think it was in the third period. Stoning, I think it was Eichel in the third period with a huge kick save and a beauty to keep it going in there. So, let's see. Andy Man saying, I'm not sure if anyone heard this on the radio in the first, but Hedeken was raving about Ferraro. Says for Ferraro to continue growing his game, he needs to be here and not with the Kuhre. I think you completely agree for that.
Very much so. I think, it's not even a question anymore. I think it's now just a question of, can we get him some more ice time? Can he, thrive in the role that he's been given? And he needs to be put into a position to thrive. And right now it's suspect. We'll leave it at that.
Yep. And I stand corrected. The Leafs, they play the Leafs on Friday, not Saturday night. I want to just make sure I clear that up. So, is it time?
Yep.
All right, let's make it happen.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
It's wraparound. Let's be real here. All right, the number of games that are that include Pacific Division teams happen tonight. Detroit loses 5-2 to Vancouver Canucks. And since Rocket's in the chat, I'll say it her way. Virtanen with his first goal this season. That turns out to be one of 5 goals because Bo Horvat, Captain Canuck, Bo Horvat gets a hat trick in this win for the Vancouver Canucks, who continue to get going at 6-3.
Did somebody say Vancouver?
In Nashville, the Predators stomp all over the Ducks 6-1. Night all around for Pekka Rinne, Yossi, Sissons, Grimaldi, Ekholm, Arvidsson, Järnkrok. 6 different goal scorers. They even got a shorty in that one. Ducks fall to 6-4 on the campaign. The Predators 5-3-1. In Minnesota, that's right, the Edmonton Oilers get shut out by 2 goals from Eric Stahl and Hunt, all in the first period. That would pave the way for a 3-0 victory for the Minnesota Wild. So thank you very much for helping us out there. The Sharks are now last place in the Pacific Division thanks to a 3-2 victory by the Los Angeles Kings over the Winnipeg Jets. Anze Kopitar with a power play goal at 5:52 buries it in for the Kings. Currently going on 6:33 to go in the third period. Vegas is down 1-0. Kirby Dach with the only goal at 16:15 in the first. That's his first NHL goal. Would you believe the Sharks didn't give it up to him? That's amazing. Just saying. Just putting that out there. So keep an eye on that. After 2 periods, the Flames are down 3-2 to the Washington Capitals. Ovechkin has his 7th of the season and 5 goals in the second period between the Flames and the Capitals there. Some other finals to tell you. Maple Leafs lose to Boston. That's a shocker. 4-2, the final there. Kapanen Kerfoot for the Leafs, unfortunately, on the losing end, as Pasternak, Marchand, Ritchie, and Lindholm get them for the Bruins. In that's not us. That's in Florida, 4-2 to final. The Panthers beat the Penguins. Sidney couldn't do it all. Huberdeau with his 4th. Bobrovsky puts the Panthers to 4-2-3 on the campaign. And then finally, the Desert Dogs. Oh, excuse us.
Can somebody get this man a beer?
That's right. The Desert Dogs win 3-2 in overtime to the Rangers at MSG. Christian Dvorak, with his 4th of the season at 104, gets the game-winning goal as Georgiev loses for the Rangers. D'Angelo with the only 2 goals for the Blue Shirts. So, a lot of people in the chat. Hey, at least we're ahead of Dallas in the standings. Yeah. Joe Pavelski scored the other night as well. That's his 2nd. But yeah, Dallas has been disappointed in yikes. Is Jim Montgomery in the hot seat? Rob Humphrey, don't worry, gang. The Blues never won a cup and we're terrible until January last year. We're right where we want to be. I wouldn't say that, in considering it took them 52 years and that's how they do it. It's, so. So that's pretty much it for that one. The Sharks will now head up into the Great White North to start a back-to-back on Thursday as they go at it against two original six, or as Ian Reed would say, the arbitrary six teams of Montreal and Toronto. Thanks, schedule makers, for that one. Appreciate it. At least you didn't send us to Ottawa first, then to Montreal, and then Toronto. That would have been great. So, what to expect, Landy?
I know what to get Steve Hatzapetros this Christmas. A map.
A map.
A map for his zigzagging for the Sharks. Just coming up, I mean, look, again, you've got to kind of boil it back down to the basics.
Yep.
They've got to really figure out this defensive zone struggles. There needs to be less selfish plays, especially on the changes, as Couture is pointing out. They need some more consistent goaltending. I mean, they have to have a goaltender who can make the saves that he needs to make at a minimum. I mean, minimum, that's what they need, right?
And I think it's all around. Especially with the defense.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of things to work on, but it's starting with the basics, and that's what I want to see. I just want to see some more plays like Mario Ferraro standing up guys at the blue line, and let's see some Wookiee butt checks for crying out loud.
Something, anything, whatever it takes, as long as it's legal, right? I mean, we're not the Vegas Golden Knights and can deliver headshots and get away with it, right, Mark Stone? So, in case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, including the excellent intro that drove everybody nuts, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you name it, you'll love it, and join us there. We also have some great posts coming up. Felix has written one up. Don't forget, Pucknologist dropped earlier this week. If you haven't missed it, AJ and Hockey Jerk were on it and break down the week that was in Sharks hockey. So we'll be back with you on Thursday around this time as the Sharks will take on Les Habitants de Montréal. That game will start at 4 p.m. We'll be on here around the same time as we were. So, with that, final thoughts and where the people can find you, Mr. Erik Landi.
Grab your francophones, ladies and gentlemen, and be ready for that puck guy intro, because it's coming. I
love you too, Landy. Thanks.
On the real, though, you can use my first name and my last name on all the social media garbage to find me and come start a conversation, preferably not in French.
Merci. You can follow me on Twitter and the Instagram at PuckGuy14. You can also follow us on Teal Town USA on the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You name it, you love it. So with that, we'll be back with you on Thursday night, and, well, hopefully we'll be celebrating a win. Hopefully there's a team meeting like there was last year in Montreal, that they get this season turned around quickly at 3-5-1. So thanks for watching. Do us a favor, hit the subscribe button over here. If you missed anything, check us out on Teal Town USA on all the social media. Don't forget the Pucknologist dropped. Check that out, along with all our other content on all our social media and tealtownusa.com. Until Thursday night, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you Thursday.